Hi, excuse me. Hi, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. My name is Rory Sommers. I'm the Undergraduate Admissions Counselor at SACI Florence. I'm going to be doing this presentation specifically on late spring and summer programs at SACI Florence. There will be some general information about other programs that we offer, but the focus is going to be on our upcoming late spring and summer programs. There should be a chat feature to this presentation where I hope you'll be able to ask me some questions that you might have, and feel free to do that either as I'm talking or at the very end of the presentation. I'll stick around after I'm done to answer any questions. If for any reason there's some technical difficulties and I can't see your questions, or you're not able to submit questions that you have, please feel free to email me at any time. If you RSVP'd to this presentation, you should have my email address, but just in case, I'm going to spell it out for you. It's rsommers@saci-florence.edu. You can also find that email address on our website, or just email your questions directly to the admissions@saci-florence email address. So once again, for anyone just joining us, I'm happy to take questions as they come up, or rather, please submit your questions as they come up and I will answer them at the end. And just in case for any reason the chat feature does not happen to be working, please feel free to email me after the conclusion of the presentation and I'll be able to answer you as soon as possible. So if we're ready, let's go ahead and begin. And there may be some lag with this presentation. I have done it before and found that occasionally it does not, the images don't quite match up with the speed that I'm talking. So hopefully we'll just take it a little bit slow and see how it goes. So welcome again. Thank you for your interest in SACI Florence and our late spring and summer programs. If you're not familiar with SACI at all, we are a school of studio art and design in the heart of historic Florence, which is the image here. This is basically the heart of Florence, and our campus and all of our housing is in this area. So every day that you walk out of your classroom or your bedroom or the market, you are walking by historic buildings, works of art on the street corner, as well as modern works of art, such as street artists. It really is an inspiring city. And what we want you to do is come to Florence as an art student, or maybe just a lover of art, somebody who wants to be able to take studio art classes during a summer program when maybe they wouldn't normally be able to do so at their home university, and come and be inspired by the city of Florence. Our campus, like I mentioned, is in the heart of Florence. We have two main buildings, or palazzos as they're called in Italy, that serve as our main campus buildings. This one here is our main building and our first building, the Palazzo dei Cartiglioni. This is where most of our classes take place. It is an old building that used to belong to a very prominent family, the head of whom was a pupil of Galileo. And as you can see, there is decorative scroll work and a bust which are dedicated to Galileo. So whether or not you are in a studio or in a dark room, hanging out in the garden behind the building, working on etchings, or even sitting at a computer doing graphic design work, you are constantly surrounded by this history. Again, this building has been renovated to host all of these different types of courses, but are also modernized, or rather, they are modernized to host all of these different types of courses, but many still have their same original paintings and wall paintings and ceiling paintings in them. Outside of these classrooms, we want you to be able to explore Florence, and we do this by having you go into the city as part of class field trips. So you'll go and be inspired to take photos or have drawing sessions or painting sessions in front of picturesque landscapes and historic landmarks, as well as go into the city to visit museums and see works of art. And also go outside of the city, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Our second building is the Jules Madoff Palazzo. It's our newest building. It houses many of our graduate programs, but over the summer, it's also home to some of our photography dark rooms, as well as the fresco painting course. And again, this is an old building with much of its original paintwork and fixtures still in place. And a great example of one of the classrooms where our design students sit in front of very modern computers, but the ghost of an old, hundreds years old fresco is overlooking them from the wall as they work. Both of our buildings also have gallery space, which we like to utilize as much as possible in order to both showcase student artwork and bring in outside artists, so that there's always a rotating series of art going on for students to be able to see. The Jules Madoff building is actually named after our founder, Jules Madoff, who is an American artist who went over to Florence in the 50s and 60s as an artist and really had a vision of what art school should be like for American students in Florence. And he was able to achieve that vision of his art school in the 70s with the opening of SACI. And I mentioned this not just because the building is named after him, but this is actually a gallery showing of some of his artwork. The fresco painting classroom, as I mentioned, is in this building, and it's one of my favorite classes, and always offered during our late spring and summer programs, because students get to learn the different types of techniques of fresco painting. And as you can see here, they actually learn those techniques by painting directly on the wall, as people would have done with the fresco technique hundreds of years ago. In addition to our Florence program takes place in the late spring and summer sessions, which the dates for those are the late spring is from the end of May to the end of June, and the summer session is from the end of June to the end of July. Our Venice program takes place simultaneously during the same dates as our summer session in Florence. And that program is focused around the Art Biennale Festival, which is something that we'll talk about again in a little bit. But this is also a great example of some of the field trips that you are able to take as part of the Florence program. On the weekends, we have opportunities for field trips around Italy, so students will be able to go to Rome, Pisa, Bologna, as well as Venice, either as part of the classes that they're taking, such as the art history classes, or as an extra offering that SACI provides. If you choose not to participate on any of the field trips, or you're taking classes that don't involve any weekend field trips, it's very easy to get around Florence and the rest of Venice on your own, as well as explore more of Europe on your own. As I mentioned, field trips take place not only outside of Florence, but around Florence as part of the classes. So this is a field trip that our jewelry making class took, and this is a field trip that our sculpture class took to a local marble quarry. Outside of the classroom, we encourage students to get involved in the local neighborhood and the local communities by doing volunteer work. Here we see a group of students who were part of a project to help adults with mental disabilities. And in this project, they actually help these adults create camera obscuras. So here they are showing those off. There are also opportunities to work in local community gardens, as well as to paint murals in hospitals, teach English, be a babysitter for children. Whatever you might want to do and volunteer your time in order to better acclimate and include yourself in the local community, SACI will do its best to help you find a way to do that. Our students are able to live in apartments in Florence, which is a really amazing experience, because it's not just living in a dorm like you would on your college campus. It's not living in a hotel like you would if you were a tourist to the country. You get to live in an apartment that is situated in buildings where the rest of the apartments belong to local Florentine people. So you will live with other students from SACI in double and single rooms, anywhere from 2 to 4 people in an apartment, because each apartment has its own unique configuration. And you will go out into the streets of Florence, knowing that you are actually living in the city as a member of the city. Each of our apartments are very uniquely decorated. Some of them are a little bit more modern, some of them are a little bit older. Unfortunately, if you're interested in the Venice program, I don't currently have any photographs of the accommodations there, as we are currently switching them up. Students also do not partake in meals in a cafeteria, and SACI does not provide a meal plan. We encourage our students to prepare their own food and do their own grocery shopping, again, because it helps to immerse you in the culture of Florence a little bit better than going to a cafeteria every day. Food is much cheaper, and many of it is very fresh. There's actually a farmer's market within walking distance of the school, and we equip your kitchens with everything that you'll need in order to be able to cook for yourselves. Obviously, there's also plenty of opportunities to go out and explore and experience the cuisine of Italy, as the previous photo showcased. And there's always lots of opportunities to try out some sweets, some gelato, and take some really beautiful photographs of your food with amazing backgrounds. So a little bit more about the late spring and summer programs specifically, and the courses that you'll be able to take. For the most part, the same courses will be offered in the late spring as the summer, with 2 exceptions. The ceramics class is not offered in the summer session. It is only offered in the late spring session, and as well as the design internship. So a little bit about the design internship. We do offer an internship opportunity for our students to be able to focus on an area of design, such as graphic design, fashion design, or other areas that you might be interested in, and take an internship as one of your courses. For more information on that, I would direct you to our website, as there are a couple of extra steps that you'll need to take if you are interested in that internship, and especially since you have to work closely with the registrar about what you hope to get out of your internship. It's always better to start that sooner rather than later. So these are the courses that will be offered during our late spring program. As you can see, many of them are offered during our semester programs. So really, the late spring and summer programs are a great opportunity for students who are very excited about the courses that we offer during a semester, but may not be able to get away from their campus for a full semester. Each session, late spring or summer, is about 4.5 weeks long, and students take 2 courses per session. It is possible to do both the late spring and the summer session back to back. If you would be interested, you'd be in Florence for about 9 weeks that way and have the opportunity to take 4 different classes. As you can see, these are going to be some examples of the work that students have done in the late spring and summer courses. So batiking and serigraphy, black and white photography. Our conservation classes are very unique. Our conservation classes actually allow our undergraduate students to work directly with art conservation, instead of just learning the theories of it and practicing on replica pieces. And the summer program especially is very intensive. In the 4-week session, you actually will learn about a full semester's worth of conservation techniques. It's very exciting and rewarding and a unique program. And as I mentioned, you do have the opportunity to work directly with conserving works of art, such as paintings, sculptures, frescoes, wood, gilding, and more. We do have, as I mentioned, different areas of design available in the internship. There's drawing classes of all levels. So the drawing classes are offered during this late spring and summer at both the beginning, intermediate, and advanced levels. We do offer Italian language, which is a little bit more difficult to show as a photo. So here is a local cafeteria at the local Florentine University. We encourage our students who are enrolled in Italian language courses to go out, especially to the local university, to try and meet students of their own age and have the opportunity to practice their Italian with. This is usually a very mutual relationship, since much of the time the students at the Florence University are also taking English and would like to practice their English, and it's a great way to make some local friends. We do have jewelry design classes, which are really spectacular because you get to work with so many different mediums and make a lot of really exciting stuff. We have painting classes, again, just like the drawing classes, offered at different levels, intermediate, beginning, intermediate, and advanced. Our art history class for the late spring and summer, both of our art history offerings focus on the Renaissance period. Students get the opportunity to take 2 art history classes a week for this Renaissance survey, one of which will be in the classroom and the other of which will take place completely on site. So students spend about 3 hours of their class time walking around Florence to see museums and different historical landmarks, different works of art as part of their art history course. So instead of learning about it in a classroom with a textbook or with a slide on the wall, students actually get to talk about these works of art in person and hear from their professor directly. So in addition to being a great learning experience, it's also a great way to see as much of Florence as possible while still being in a class, so it doesn't actually take up any of your time after class or on the weekends. Sculpture is also available during both our summer and late spring programs. Work with a variety of different mediums. And then we have our Venice Biennale program. So while our summer and late spring programs both draw from our typical semester repertoire of courses, our Venice Biennale program is very unique. It is centered directly around the Biennale Festival that happens every year. And in the odd years, such as this year, it has an art focus that ties very, very closely to our program. Students take a digital photography course as well as a contemporary art course. In this course, they get to spend much of the time at the Biennale, and the Biennale is an international art festival. So artists from all over Italy, Europe, and the world come to showcase their art, and students along with their faculty will go into this festival for much of their class time in order to explore and experience it. They'll take lots of photographs of both the Biennale as well as go out into the rest of Florence itself and take photographs to go along with the modern art that they'll be experiencing at the Biennale. And this is a great way for students to experience a different side of Venice, a non-touristy side of Venice, as many of our field trips actually take place off the beaten track outside of the touristy center of Venice, so in order to see real life of Venetian people. So if you are interested in seeing more photos, we constantly post photos on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, both of the student experience as well as student artwork. So it's just a great way to really kind of picture yourself on this program and see if it's something that is really exciting to you. If you are interested in applying to the late spring and summer programs, great. You still have plenty of time to do so. If you're interested in scholarship opportunities, our deadline is going to be March 15th, and we do have scholarships available for all of our late spring and summer programs, so both in Florence and in Venice. More information about the scholarships is available on our website, but to go back to the next steps, it's very easy to apply. All you'll need to do is head to our website and fill out our application. The application will ask you some very basic information, your name, where you go to school, what program you're interested in studying at. Once you've submitted your application, there's only 2 more documents that you'll need. The first is a transcript from your school. We do have a minimum of 2.75 GPA required, though if you do have a lower GPA and you are still interested in joining us for a late spring or summer program, feel free to email me, as we do occasionally make exceptions. Other than the transcript, the other thing that you will need is a study abroad advisor form. This form will be signed by your study abroad advisor or your academic advisor, depending on which school you're attending. This is also where you will fill out the courses that you'd like to take. We require this piece of paper and with the courses on it to be signed by your academic or study abroad advisor in order to make sure that you will be able to receive credit for the courses that you are taking, and that your school will be aware that you are planning to be off campus. And that's it. So what's really great about the late spring and summer programs is you won't require a visa, so you won't need to go through the visa process. If you are not interested in the scholarships, again, the scholarship deadline is March 15th. But if you're not interested in those scholarships, the deadline just to join the program is much later, which gives you much more time. Of course, it's always better to plan ahead and have as much time as possible. There's a couple of great reasons to apply as early as possible. The first is that our class registration list actually goes in order of students deposited. So if there are classes that you absolutely have to be in, they are just the classes you really want, I would encourage you to finish your application as soon as possible and submit your deposit as soon as possible after being accepted into the program. That'll ensure that you are at the top of the list for course registration. The other reason to plan ahead is to book your flight as soon as possible, as of course that's typically when those flights are going to be cheapest, is when you are thinking ahead. For the late spring program, we do also have a group flight available that flies out of New York. Interested in that group flight, more information about that can also be found on our website. If you're not yet aware, our website is in the lower right-hand corner here, saci-florence.edu. So if you do have any further questions or want to explore the application or anything like that, most of those questions will be able to be answered by the website. However, that is the end of my main presentation for all of you. So I would be happy to go ahead and answer any questions that you have now. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, there should be a chat feature available to you. If you do have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and write those questions in the chat area, and I will answer them as they come up. If for whatever reason I'm unable to see your questions or you're having any technical difficulties with your questions, you can always email me directly. If you did RSVP to this event, you should have my email address available. I am typing it currently into the chat area so that you have it available there. But if you, for whatever reason, you can't see the chat, my email address is rsommers@saci-florence.edu, and you can also find that on our website. So once again, I am the undergraduate admissions counselor for all of our SACI programs. So if you do have any questions about the late spring program, the summer in Florence, the summer in Venice, about applying directly from your school, I probably do have the most answers for you as I work with many of the schools that our students come from. So once again, thank you for joining our presentation, and I will be around for the next 5 or 10 minutes to answer questions. If there are questions to be had, please go ahead and type them into the chat area. Again, if you are unable to do so, please feel free to email me at any time today, tomorrow, a week from now, a month from now with your questions. Okay, so I do see a question from Susie. Hi, Susie. She asked, how are the housing situations determined? So there are a couple of different ways that the housing situations are determined. Students are automatically placed into double rooms. If you are interested in a single, it is possible to pay a little bit extra called a single supplement in order to be placed into a single room. If you are going for a double room, you will essentially fill out a very brief questionnaire about your living habits, and our housing coordinator will do their best to place you with somebody of similar sleeping and study habits. Other than that, as I mentioned, the apartments are anywhere from 2 to 6 students in an apartment, and the size of the overall apartment that you're placed into is essentially random. So we will do our best to match you up in a room with somebody who best suits your personal living needs, and then the rest of the apartment will kind of be anybody anybody else who is attending the SACI program, again, depending on how many different rooms are going to be in your specific apartment. No problem, Susie. Do feel free to email me if any other questions come up. And if anybody else has questions, I will be here for just another couple of minutes. Feel free to type them in. All right, thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure to be able to tell you a little bit more about our late spring and summer programs. Everyone who attended everyone who RSVP'd will be added to our mailing list so that you'll be able to receive any updates or changes to our late spring and summer programs. And in the meantime, if you do have any questions, please feel free to email me. Thanks so much.